Hey, this is Jim. It's 5:58 a.m. in San Francisco, California on January the 10th. Please note that all discussions, analysis, and information presented are for general informational and educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial or any other form of professional advice. Quick AMC update here. This is a chart that I'm posting to the member site, but I'm going to go ahead and create the video by reviewing this chart. So first off, I'm going to take you back really quickly to how well things were tracking prior to the multiple rounds of relentless dilution by Adam Aron. So remember when we were moving into November, and we had multiple November zones of strength. We had December, and then, the big one's February, obviously. So we were uptrending nicely here. We hit this 1060 hidden retest and assumed we'd go through a vibration sequence. Then we had this zone of weakness on the first, and you can see from the price box that I had here depicting sort of minimum expected price and maximum expected price that we actually tracked perfectly, pulled back on November the 1st, but held up really well. So this was super encouraging at this point and meant that the stock was ready to outperform on the upside. My next window here was this zone of strength into November the 3rd and 6th, 3rd through 6th. Stock broke out, tracked beautifully, but then the reverse happens. Whereas this was sort of a subpar pullback compared to where I thought we'd go. Pardon me. This area here should have been a slam dunk to retest our $13. We've got two hidden retests in that same area, depending on which fractal time period you want to dissect. One's at $13, one's at $13.25. So basically, I went with the lower. But so this was interesting. And then in retrospect, and hard to explain, in retrospect, we can see what was going on. The market started to know this was happening. Well, we had on the board this zone of weakness into November 13th. So think about how actually perfect this tracking is. Nice lift into zone of strength, pullback on the first, strength into 1.3 through 1.6. Forget about the actual price targets hitting or not hitting. Just think in terms of the wave action of human emotion, bullish versus bearish. Then we see the zone of weakness here on November the 13th. And again, since I was assuming we would be able to challenge that $13 hidden retest, what typically would happen based on history is you'd start to go through the vibration sequence. The 11-13 zone of weakness would have just been a pullback sort of in this main channel area here. And then you can move on into these November 21st and then 30th through December 1st zones of strength. What happens is Adam Aron dilutes into this zone of weakness, so it ends up looking like this. This is the 13th right here as I scroll. So, I mean, beautiful tracking again. Pullback, strength, zone of weakness. The only difference is that because Adam Aron is diluting and because Wall Street knew it was coming at certain points, the stock is underperforming and on the upside and overperforming on the downside, if you want to put it that way. So that's what's happening. Then if you look at the original 11-21 zone of strength, well, we start to move down and then see this turning point here on the 21st, and you start to move up late day 21st. So again, tracking, and then 30th through the 1st. Again, we're tracking now off of a pullback low. Going back to this period here, you can see where I thought the bottom end of the range, we could take care of the 17-18 hidden retest. I was hoping that would happen so that once we turned, we could be off to the races and not have to ever worry about this number again, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years down the road. Anyway, this number ends up being hit into just after that zone of weakness and just prior to these zones of strength. So again, human emotion, the waves are tracking. Then we start to move up again, and sure as shit, Adam Aron dilutes. Then Adam Aaron dilutes again. These are early December dates or mid-December dates. Adam Aaron dilutes again. And by the way, some of you may have missed this on the 15th. He also filed with the SEC notification of the 7.3 million plus shares that were given to Aaron and AMC employees as the latest stock option plan. That all happened way back in around the time of the CRS, when the company insiders leaned on a stipulation embedded in the original APE agreement from back in 2013, where the company could issue extra shares of APE to themselves after or prior to the event, so that after the reverse split, they actually were made whole based on the common shares they owned before the 1-for-10 reverse split. So that's why Adam Aaron actually owns more shares than he did moving into the CRS, whereas all of you, me included, were decimated as far as the number of shares that we own. He literally owns more shares than he did going into the CRS and that disgusting beating. And I think that was a bridge too far. I think he'll end up, in court and in trouble over his excessive greed. We'll see. Anyway, then the stock tries to stabilize. And again, in between all of his dilution, the stock rallies, wants to rally, and it does rally. That's proof that Adam Aaron's dilution and Adam Aaron's dilution alone is the reason this stock is so heavy. It's not what a lot of these knuckleheads on Twitter talk about, that, leave Adam Aaron alone. The big bad hedge funds are just shorting the stock and he needs to be raising money. It's the opposite. He is literally decimating the stock and then diluting into the hole. It makes no sense whatsoever unless someone's forcing him to do that. Anyway, again, Adam Aaron dilutes again, Adam Aaron dilutes again, and Adam Aaron dilutes again. So very, very heavy. What's brought us to this point now has created these small degree downtrend lines. The reason I'm posting this on the chart is because this is the most important downtrend on the board. And here's the note. This is a downtrend that's drawn off the August 8th and August 12th highs. I'm going to show you that in a minute here. But the reason why I put these sort of noisy small degree downtrends on the chart is to prove a point here to you guys, is that if the stock starts to turn around and rally sharply, and I think unless he dilutes again, I think we'll be able to move up to these hidden retest levels as early as this week. And we should start up during the first half of the session today. If we don't, that would be a really bad sign in my work, at least. But the reason these small degree downtrends are important is because it tells me that if we have some kind of a gap move or a fast market break of this important downtrend drawn again off these August highs, you are likely to come back and have to retest these downtrend lines and spend some time vibrating. So it's really not an ideal setup to just blast to the upside and take off. Now, it can happen. If it does happen, it means that down the road we have to come back and take care of all of this sort of noisy garbage down here. So I'd actually rather see us start up today and go through a series of pretty noisy trading here, and then start to accelerate toward some of our targets here into the much more bullish February period. The other thing that I've noted here is that if price were to trade dead sideways, right, for each hourly price bar, each 60-minute price bar moving forward, we would be set to break this August downtrend line at 8:30 in the morning PST on January 12th. So it would happen this week. That's if you trade dead sideways. If you start to trade up, it can happen more quickly. And if you start to puke and trade down, then it's irrelevant, because again, as you move down in price, you move out in time before a potential break of this trend line. Let me pause and then show you guys. I'm going to readjust the chart and show you guys the point of origin on this August trend line and the reason I think it's so important. Okay, I've adjusted the chart so that it's no longer fixed, and as I scroll, it'll adjust to render the price in our view here. So again, this is this downtrend line that in my eyes is the most important downtrend line that we're tracking right now. And I'm going to show you point of origin, and I'm going to show you, prove to you that it is a perfectly drawn trend line. So you guys remember when I had clicked on that, it created these little black dots. That's what happens on TradeStation, whichever line you click on and is active, it'll take on that look. Now, when I draw these trend lines, and especially a trend line that's this important, and a trend line that will move, not only cents but dollars or tens of dollars if you're even slightly off on the way you draw the points of origin on the trend line. When a trend line is super important and really important enough to put on the chart, this is the way I do it, at least with the TradeStation drawing tool. So I just mouse over the bar as the point of origin bar, and in this case you can see the high print was $243.36, and so then I make sure that the line point of origin is precisely over that hourly bar, not on this side and not on this side. Then I'll show you the just to prove to you guys the accuracy of this trend line. So you can see there 243.36. This is, I can adjust this. So 243.36 is what I would type in here, and then I would type OK, and then that would lock in that first point. And then on the second one, again, I would mouse over, make sure that it represents the high, which in this case is $240.71. I'd make sure that that dot, which is the second point of origin, you can see if I remove the right extension, that's how that looks. And then you guys can see as far as the data on this particular reference point is the same, 240.71. So the reason for spending so much time on this is just to prove to you that this is, in my interpretation of drawing trend lines and my experience over the decades, is this is a precise trend line. Now that doesn't mean that you can't have another trend line drawn using sort of the body of the candle and things like that, but I absolutely have found value in drawing trend lines off of absolute highs and absolute lows of wicks. Of course, you have to have a solid data provider to make sure that you're confident that you don't have garbage data that you're relying on. So anyway, there you go. This is, again, August the 8th, and then this is August the 12th. Then Adam Aaron pounces, and we go from there. The rest is history. Quickly to review all of the hidden retests that were left behind on the way down, and the reason why I think the stock has big upside, unless they just drive it into the hands of an acquirer or bankrupt it prior. As you can see, we've left behind this hidden retest at 188, 137.25, 127.50. Note they're very sticky, meaning once it's hit, that should be stubborn vibration. And again, that's the equivalent of $12.75 pre-CRS. Really, then it moves down into these our hidden retests at 45, 40, 30, $34, and then it takes us right kind of up to date. So again, 980, then we had that $13, and then you kind of look at 34 for that zone of strength in February. If Adam Aaron stops diluting and we catch a break. I have a feeling, based on some of the things that have been filed with the SEC, that Adam Aaron will step down either later this month or early February. For a lot of reasons, I believe that'll probably happen. And If so, of course, he's taking care of himself, and the board's taking care of him, and all of his stock will be money good, and he rides off into the sunset. My take is that Wall Street would view Adam Aron stepping down as very, very bullish for a lot of reasons. The simplest reason is that it can bring back some of the tremendous support the stock had before. All of the no voters were disillusioned, and a lot of the yes voters who now have come over into agreement with the no voters and sort of experienced regret for voting yes for the CRS, and also for supporting Adam now that he's done so many things that look, blatantly against the best interest of retail and even for institutional investors. That's it from my side, you guys. Good luck. We'll see if we can't catch a break here today and start moving back up.